This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on with us, and that is Lucy Gowers of Youth Haven. How are you today?
I am well. Thank you, Sean. How are you?
Very busy, about to get married, 2 weeks.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's coming right around the corner. We've been super busy planning all of the details. We got the honeymoon right after. Mother Nature hasn't been exactly kind to us as of late, except for the last couple of days. And I still need to plant some of my gardens before we leave, after, so I can give some really nice, how do I want to put this? Some great life skills injected into my 18-year-old daughter.
Wow.
Take care of the gardens for us.
Well, that would be wonderful. And I pray for amazing weather for you and your wife. And I wish you the best. Oh, my goodness. That is so exciting.
Thank you very much. But today is not about me. It's about you and getting to know another awesome charity here in our local community. So why don't we start off? Why don't you share with our listeners and tell them a little bit about your business?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us on your show. We are grateful to be able to share our story with you and your many wonderful listeners. So Youth Haven has been around for more than 35 years. We began in 1987 when a group of concerned citizens realized that there was nowhere to go for any youth experiencing homelessness. So they actually began taking the kids into their homes. But they quickly realized that they needed a better response since the need grew. So in 1990, we incorporated and we received our charitable status. We moved into a location on Dunlop Street. The agency at that time was volunteer driven and volunteer supported, which was amazing, of course. Over the years, of course, we've moved a number of times. I will share with you that Maycourt Club of Barrie was one of those organizations that stepped up and supported us by donating seed funding to us. And over the years, they continue to support Youth Haven and the incredible work that we do. As I was saying, we have moved a number of times, and now we are located on 22 Wellington Street East, where we are currently building our brand new state-of-the-art shelter. And I invite all of your listeners to drive by and just to take a look at this amazing building that's going to support many, many of our youth in need. Our capacity is going to grow from 19, which we currently have in our care, to 31. The opportunities that we're going to be able to present our youth are just endless. We encourage our youth to either stay in school, to continue or look for employment. We encourage them to find independent housing. And so what we tend to do is focus on their immediate needs. And by doing so, that's when we're able to provide them with the support that they need. And I am going to give out a shout out to the Simcoe County Home Builders Association, because our new build would not happen without their dedication, their commitment, their passion, and their support. And of course, to the rest of our community for stepping up and making donations. And of course, just encouraging us to continue doing the great work that we do.
Love hearing about it. Love hearing how the community steps up and everybody bands together to be able to support such a great cause. And same with us on the show, having you on here and help you spread your message. Is there an age range that we're talking about? We're talking about youth here. Is there a starting point and end point? How does that all work?
Yes, so we actually provide support to youth age 16 to 24. I will also add that we are the only emergency shelter in the county of Simcoe that is totally dedicated to supporting youth who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless.
Very, very cool. Very important to know. And what I mean by cool, just to clarify, in case sometimes people take what you say and spin it on you. It's cool in a sense that we have something like this, right? To be able to support youth young people who are going through struggles, whatever that might be, and need an outlet, be able to help them so that they don't continue on the path that they're on, that we can correct that path to give them more fulfillment, help them with what they need, and ultimately live a better life. And if they ever give back someday, or when they give back someday, then that's ultimately the cycle that we're looking for, being able to lend a hand to another human being in need, regardless of how old they are, but especially when they're younger, because when you're younger, you just don't know what you
Exactly.
don't know. And sometimes that help can go a long way and really springboard somebody's trajectory.
Exactly. I mean, it's really sad to say that we need an organization like ours to be able to support vulnerable youth in our community, because a lot of those youth who come to us just don't have anyone in their lives who can care for them, who care for them, or who can encourage them to become all that they can be. And it does make it hard. It makes it sad to see a 16-year-old coming to our shelter in need of our help because she's actually had to leave a violent situation and is in need of not only immediate shelter and food, but also protection. And so this is what we're here for. We provide shelter, food, we provide crisis intervention, case management, housing, education. We provide employment supports, healthcare, mental health care. We try and do it all. But we also work in partnership with other amazing organizations within our community to help provide the best care that we possibly can to any youth walking in through our doors.
So we just talked about being young, and young, sometimes there's the word naive can come in
Mhm.
there because we just, again, don't know what we don't know. What message do we need to get across here using this platform, having this discussion today? If somebody who's young, who maybe doesn't know, obviously, if there's violence involved, that's pretty kind of straightforward, but sometimes there's naivety that's involved in there and they might not know. So what would somebody listening to the show today, is just a regular community member, like, what do we need to know? What do we need to look out for? And what are the precautions and steps that somebody needs to take when this gets identified by somebody else?
Of course. I think what I want everyone to know is that we're here. We're here to support vulnerable youth in our community. We're here to ask our community to look out for those youth who they think may be in need of help, those youth that they may see on the streets asking for support, asking for money, asking for food. We would like them to refer them to us, to Youth Haven. We can be reached 24/7. I have an amazing group of staff who are dedicated to supporting youth at any time, at in any way possible. We have an outreach van. Please look out for us so that when you do see us, and if you're aware of someone who is in need of our support, that you can come talk to us. And just to be able to know exactly who we are, what we do, where we're located, and the kind of support that we can provide.
Excellent. That's good information. And we'll make sure at the end of the show, we'll grab those contact details from you, be able to spread that word. All right. So I think we have a pretty good idea and a sense of Youth Haven, what the charity is all about, what it represents, what it stands for, and how it's able to solve the problem that's currently out there when it comes to youth. But let's talk a little bit about you, Lucy. Everybody's got a bit of a journey to doing what they're doing. Some people come out of the womb and they know exactly what they're doing. They do that for the rest of their life, sail off into the sunset. And then other times it's a little bit different, a little hop, skip, and a jaunt. Sometimes
Right.
it's a little bit more than that, where I like to say it's like the Mazda commercial. It's all over the place. And eventually people find into what they're super passionate about. And it's always nice to know what the story is leading up to what that is. What was that story like for you leading up to doing
Um,
today?
I grew up in Niagara Falls, so I am a people person. I love tourism. I love just helping individuals. And that really all started when I was a young girl, of course, living in Niagara Falls. I volunteered at a nursery school for children with special needs. And it was, I think, through this experience that I saw the challenges that a lot of those children were actually experiencing. There were children with physical challenges, children who were deaf, blind, just facing illnesses. And I think that gave me a different perspective in life. Aside from that, my sister, my youngest sister, is also physically challenged and hearing impaired. And she was also attended this school. And that I think impacted me in a way that um, gave me the passion, the motivation to be able to help others in whatever capacity I was able to. Of course, over the years, I've held all kinds of different positions. Part time jobs included working at a public library, working in an amusement park. I was a tour guide in Niagara Falls and absolutely loved it. But then once we graduated from university, of course, I think the time came for us to really start to focus on what we wanted to do. And my first job was working at a public library. And that introduced me to so many individuals, that introduced me to so many opportunities. And I actually volunteered with a nonprofit organization, the Arthritis Society. I was living up in Timmins at the time. And of course, I didn't have any friends or family, but it kind of gave me an opportunity to become involved in the community and to really immerse myself and kind of make friends, and it led to other things. um, I've held position with the Easter Seal Society. I've worked for Heart and Stroke Foundation of Grey Bruce, Habitat for Humanity of Grey Bruce, Parkinson's Society. I've worked with the Housing Resource Center and now with Youth Haven. And I think that all of those positions that I've held have enabled me to make even a small difference with these amazing organizations who are focused on making this world a better place for everyone.
Very cool story. Always love asking that question because everybody's so unique and getting into what they're doing and what that journey looks like. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. We always like to spend a little bit of time on trying to clear the air. Sometimes we talk about all kinds of different businesses on the show, and people have myths or misconceptions. And sometimes that's due to a lack of knowledge, or maybe somebody was misled in information. And it's always nice to be able to clear the air on some of the stuff that's out there. So I wanted to ask you, are there any myths, any misconceptions when it comes to your line of work?
And there are. One common misconception is that the youth experiencing homelessness are all facing the same challenges and they come from similar backgrounds. But that is further from the truth. In reality, the young people that end up at Youth Haven come from various backgrounds, and they come from a wide range of trauma that they've experienced. It ranges from family conflict and abuse to economic hardships to mental health issues to addictions. And another misconception that we hear all the time is that a youth chooses to be homeless. Again, no one chooses to be homeless. They just don't have the resources, the support, or the opportunity to change the circumstances that they find themselves in. And so Youth Haven is there to help them change those circumstances and help create a positive outcome for themselves by providing them with the services, the support, and the care that they need.
All good information to clear up. I certainly didn't know that.
Mhm,
So I could just
mhm.
imagine anybody else who's listening who are like, wow, that I made an assumption, or maybe I was
Correct.
misinformed. And that's really, really important information, I think, for us to know.
Thank you. Sometimes it's really heartbreaking to hear the stories of the youth who come through our doors. You're 16 years old again, and you've been trafficked, and you end up on the streets with no one to look after you, with no one to care for you, with no one to provide you with any comfort or care. And what do? You turn to the person who will support you and show you some care, some love, some kindness. And you end up in the same position over and over and over again. Our hope is to be able to help support those individuals who find themselves on the street and in those circumstances by telling them that they matter, that we care for them, that there is a way out, and that we are here to help support them.
Very well said. Let's change gears a little bit here. It's one of my favorite questions to ask on the show because I'm the type of guy that likes to have fun. There's a balance. People use this word balance. I don't like this word because that means that all things are equal, but people are passionate about what they do. And when somebody's passionate about something, it typically means they can enjoy it a lot more than somebody who's not passionate and they're doing the same thing. And so we tend to work a little bit more than we play. But with that being said, when you're not working on or in the business and you're outside of that, what does Lucy like to do for fun?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I love cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Whether they win or lose, they are my team and have been since coming to Canada for the very first time. So go, Leafs, go.
Rock and roll, girl.
I also enjoy thrifting for treasures. I started indirectly a few years ago, quite a few years ago, when I happened to just, come into pawn shops or charity shops that support our community. I will say Valley Village, Talese, Missions, Maycourt Club has an amazing consignment shop. So if you're looking for treasures, you should frequent all of these wonderful places, Beaver Valley and in Thornbury. And so I love thrifting for treasures, especially jewelry. I do have a pretty extensive collection of jewelry, but I will not admit it if I'm in the presence of my husband. Um, I enjoy reading and I enjoy spending time, of course, with our family and with our pets. We have 2 dogs and a cat. We have a Bernedoodle and we have a Bernese Mountain Dog and we have a Russian blue cat. And they keep us busy all the time.
How's that ecosystem working for you with the cats and the dogs? Because you hear mixed things out there.
Well, the cat can tolerate the Bernese Mountain Dog, but our Bernedoodle does not tolerate our cat at all. At all. Yes. It's kind of like siblings, right? Like sometimes we get along great with our brothers and sisters, and sometimes we don't. So.
Totally. We have a 4-year-old Australian Shepherd. His name is Jax.
Nice.
He's a red tri, super cute. He's a big suck, kind of like his dad. And we have a 5-year-old deer-headed Chihuahua named Rambo.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So Rambo unfortunately, he was attacked when he was about 3. He used to love dogs, and then he kind of changed his opinion on that. Very much a people person. And then Julie and I got together, and Rambo wasn't really having Jax around. And now you look at them today, and they're loving up on each other. He was playing with Jax the other day, and they were running around the house. We've never seen that before.
Oh,
so happy wonderful. That it worked out that way. But gotta love our pets, right?
Oh, we do. Our dogs are so excited to see us when we walk in the door. In fact, if I'm out with my husband, we usually fight over who's going to walk into the door first, because as soon as we get there, the dogs will start jumping up on us. So our Bernese Mountain Dog is Tucker, and he's 2 years old. And our Bernedoodle is Rosie, and she's 6 years old. And then we have our cat, of course, who's about 3-4 years old now. And so they're all at the door waiting for us, and they'll just jump up and down on us and trying to get as much attention as possible. And of course, they're so jealous of each other. So if you give one dog some attention, then the other one has to have the same amount or more. And it's just, but as you said, they're pets and we love them. And I don't know, I can't see myself living without pets now. I
love the unconditional love. It's a beautiful thing.
We do.
All right, so switching over to a little bit more of a serious tone. In life, we pick our path and we walk that path of life. It's never truly linear. Things happen. I would say life throws things our way. Could be obstacles, hurdles. We go through hardships. Sometimes they're in form of tragedies. Some people experience things a little bit more than others. even maybe a little more frequently than others. But I've always been pretty fascinated with human beings, right? Our ability to be able to overcome these things. A lot of it has to do with the mental component to it, seeing the glass half full, being able to pull a silver lining of something out of something, because we have to move forward. We
Right,
evolve,
exactly.
right? Evolution comes into play. Time doesn't stop. We fortunately or unfortunately have to just simply move forward with it. So I wanted to ask if you've ever experienced a hardship, a life challenge that maybe you overcame, maybe it made you better, maybe it made you
Mhm.
stronger, maybe you pulled some silver linings from it.
I have. I mean, I've been around for years, and I've learned. I have learned, and I think that what makes us stronger is the experiences that we have in our lifetime. And as you said, with those experiences, we either become stronger and we take those and make ourselves better, or sometimes if we don't have the capacity to do so, I think we learn to ask for help. And so I'm just going to talk about an experience that happened when we first moved to the area. My husband was offered a position with Blue Mountain Resort as the IT director. And so we were living in Niagara Falls at the time, and we decided that it was going to be a family move for us to come to Wasaga Beach area, Collingwood area, just because it would have been a place where my husband, of course, could easily get to work. And at that time, I was working for the Easter Seal Society. So I decided that maybe Wasaga Beach was going to be an appropriate location for us to move to because I would have been fairly close to the Barrie area. I had been told that Barrie was actually going to be looking for an individual to do the same position that I held when I was with the Easter Seal Society in Niagara Falls, which was community development. So getting out there, raising awareness, doing presentations, really engaging our community, and again, sharing the story of the Easter Seal Society and what they do. Um, so we started looking for some houses. We eventually found one that we both loved. And we decided that we were going to put an offer on the house. We were told at that time that the house had been tenanted, but they had been given notice and they had indicated that they were going to move. And so we said, okay, as long as everything has been taken care of, we'll make the decision to move in, which we did. May 31st, we left our apartment in Niagara Falls, came up to Wasaga Beach, and on June 1st, the day before we were supposed to take possession of our home, we found out that the tenants were refusing to leave. And we found out that they were refusing to leave through a phone call that we received from Bell Canada, who told us that they were not able to hook up our phone line because of that. And of course, now you can imagine what we're going through. I have a young daughter in school that had been enrolled in school in La Fontaine at St. Croix. And I had a young boy that had just been discharged from the hospital. He had double pneumonia. And so my focus was on my kids, keeping them safe, keeping them healthy, trying to provide for them what we needed to. My husband, of course, had his full time job, which we were very grateful for. So for the first few days, we actually stayed in a hotel while I made phone calls to find out what it was that I was able to do, what our rights were, um, where we could actually stay. There was no place for us to be able to store our belongings. So all of my home was on a moving truck in Niagara Falls. And of course, that included things like our freezer full of meats, and it included our fridge, it included a fish tank, it included our clothes, it included my office on this moving truck that I wasn't going to be able to access. So, unfortunately, we ended up having to rent a place down by Blue Mountain Resort, which we were grateful for because there wasn't anything to rent anywhere. We ended up incurring over $15,000 in extra costs. And over 20 years ago, that was a lot of money. I mean, it still is a lot of
Yeah,
money.
totally.
But keep in mind, my husband was the only one working at that time. We had a little nest egg saved. And so we were able to use some of the funds that we had saved, the funds that my husband was bringing in. And eventually we had to walk away from the deal, buy a whole new house. The the inconveniences that came, I think, with all of that, having the experience that I've gone through, it definitely has made me more passionate to help individuals who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of becoming homeless, because I understand that I could have been homeless myself had it not been for the fact that I knew how to navigate the system. I was able to make phone calls. I had friends that were able to advise us. And of course, we had an income that was coming in. And so that did teach me a lot. That taught me that we are resilient, that we can take a situation and change it so that we can create our own positive outcomes. And we talk about positive outcomes for our youth. This is what we do for them as well. We provide them with the skills that they need, the confidence that they need to take the situation that they're in and help themselves create a better, more stable, independent life. And so at that time, I realized that if I can help another individual with the knowledge and experience that I had gained, then I would do so. And I think that I was very grateful when I was hired to work for the Housing Resource Center in Collingwood. And now, of course, with Youth Haven or Habitat for Humanity, because it gave me a better understanding of what an individual goes through sometimes.
Very eloquently said. And what an experience to have to go through. You wouldn't want to wish that on anybody. But
You're
I
right.
could just imagine, if I'm putting myself in your shoes right now, what a situation where you have so many different moving parts to try to figure out all at once. Your entire life is literally upside down, completely uprooted. But to have, the confidence and the knowledge, the background that you had, but the more so the perseverance to kind of push through that and then get everything finally sorted. I love how you kind of segued that back to the charity. That was pretty cool. But being able to, take what you have, being able to provide value, help youth in need. Just what a story. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that
you.
with us. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. We often say that homelessness isn't a label, it's an experience. And we learn from our experiences.
Very well said. Okay. We could pick one thing. Don't cheat, Lucy. You're not allowed to cheat on this one. Okay. But if you had to pick one thing that you
Mhm,
wish our listeners knew about Youth Haven,
mhm.
what would that one thing be?
Oh my goodness, there's so many wonderful things that I wish your listeners knew about us. The work that we do, the fact that I have an amazing team of staff, of board members, of volunteers whose focus is on supporting vulnerable youth in our community. It's like, oh my goodness, we have the capacity to change lives for the better. And that's what we do. But we do it with the support of our community and everyone else who believes in our mission and believes in our cause.
It's truly an honor for me to be able to host the show, have you on, get to know you as a human being, get to know a little bit more about Youth Haven and some of the wonderful things that you're doing out there in our community. I certainly know there's going to be some people that'll watch this show that'll have some questions, maybe need to reach out or want to reach out to collect some more information, or just simply to meet the lovely Lucy herself. And so for those who are, what would be one of the best ways that they can go ahead and reach out?
They can actually check out our website, youthhaven.ca, and that'll provide them with information, contact information, and amazing stories of our youth who've actually, been able to change their lives for the better. So please look us up, and by all means, please connect with us. Please engage with the work that we're doing. And once our new shelter is built, please come by and just take a look at it. I would be so proud and honored to show you the great work that we're doing.
Amazing stuff. Well, thank you again, Lucy, for coming on the show to share your story with us. It's truly an honor to be the guest on the show today.
Well, thank you for having us. The honor is ours as well. I just want to thank everyone for your support, your generosity, your kindness, and I wish everyone well.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwithjeffandsean.com. That's gnpwithjeffandsean.com or call 705-413-3777.